Om Shruti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Namah Pranavarthaya Shuddha Jnanaikamurtaye Nirmalaya Prashantaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunattu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Apyayantu.
Om
Apyayantu
Mamangani.
Mamangani
Pranachakshuhu.
Pranaschakshuhu
Rotram ato balamindriyani.
Rotram ato balamindriyani
Sarvani.
Sarvani
Sarvam Brahma Upanishadam.
Sarvam Brahma Upanishadam
Maham Brahma Nirakuryam.
Maham Brahma Nirakuryam
Ma Brahma Nirakarot.
Ma Brahma Nirakarot
Anirakaranamastu.
Anirakaranamastu
Anirakaranam me astu.
Anirakaranam me astu
Tadatmani nirate.
Tadatmani nirate
Upanishadsu dharmaste.
Ya Upanishadsu dharmaste
Upanishadsu dharmaha.
Ya Upanishadsu dharmaha
Te mai santu. Te mai santu.
Te mai santu Te mai santu.
As always, the starting prayer is very important. Culturally, any work we start, even a burglar starting out on his burglary, will say a prayer before he goes to do the burglary. Not only a person going to write an exam or attending an interview, will always say a prayer before we start anything. Certainly, every Upanishad, depending upon which Veda it is part of, has a specific prayer. Usually, the prayer will be to Ishvara and to Guru. We accept the Guru as Ishvara. And if the Guru is really a Jivan Mukta Purusha, he is Ishvara. The form makes no difference. There is only one Ishvara, and we see the manifestation in many forms. That one Ishvara is the formless Jagat Karanam. So we see many manifestations. Even you and I are also Ishvara. That's what Upanishad tells us. But if it is understood as I, the individual, ego-driven individual, is Ishvara, then you'll go tell everybody, do pranams to me, I'm your Ishvara. That's not the understanding. If the understanding is correct, then that person clearly is Ishvara, but that is the understanding, not the I that I had taken myself for, the individual. So this prayer is critical. Prayer is critical also for the reason that when we start out to do something, we make our plans. To achieve this end, I must do this, because I know these will affect the end result. But if we are objective, if we are thinking, we will certainly recognize that end result is affected by many other factors, some of which I don't even know. You start a karma because you want an end result. And that karma, we hope, will produce the result that you want. But it may produce something more, something less, something different. Karmanye vadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana vino. Therefore, prayer becomes such an integral part of any activity. Among the prayers, you'll find many prayers for physical health, stability of the mind, peace of mind, to be able to do only punya karma. You'll find this included in many of the prayers. This prayer that we just chanted is also something like that. Apyayantu mama angani. All my limbs, may they grow in strength. What kind of angani? Vak. My speech, which represents all my karmendriyas. Without that vak, my doubts will be difficult to resolve. And doubts I will have, there's no question about it. Without the hands and legs being in good shape, I'll have a problem. All karmendriyas, I pray, may they grow in strength. All the prana, my breathing should be stable and good, which is normally like that without our even realizing it. It's just happening, comes and goes, comes and goes, comes and goes. Prana, apana. Not only prana, apana, all my physiological functions are included. My stomach goes gudu 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 gudu, nothing will go into the ear. All the prana, circulation, digestion, everything. So may their strength be good. May they function very well. May they not become a distraction for me. Chakshushrotram, all the jnanendriyas, may be able to see well, otherwise I can't read. I have to use a magnifying glass and say, what is saying? You know, light about my ears. Otherwise, you'll be nudging the next fellow sitting to say, what did he say? What did he say? What did he say? May my ears, my eyes, all my senses be in good shape. Prana, Chakshu, Sotram, Ato, all of them, Balam, Indriyani, Salvani, all the Indriyas, may they be in very good functioning shape. For what? To understand that everything is only Brahman. Brahman. Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. So the prayer already, the praying person already, the prayer is also prayer. The prayer already knows that everything here is Brahman. Maybe he's heard it, maybe he's read it, maybe he's already been doing certain amount of Shravanam. Sarvam Brahma. Everything is Brahman. And how do we know it? Upanishadam. Through the Upanishads only. Upanishads tell us and make us think about the fact that everything here is Brahman. Sarvam. Without any shesha. Living, non-living, tangible, intangible, small, big, near, far. You take any dvandva, everything inclusive. Known, unknown, seen, unseen. Everything is nothing but Brahman. It is like the dream world we create. Swapna prapancham. Everything in the dream is a projection of the knowledge of the dreamer. Without that knowledge gathered during the waking hours, you cannot see it in the dream. Everything here is Brahman. Not only that, the Upanishad takes it one step further. That Brahman is Atma, I. All this is available in the Upanishad. I'm getting to start the new Upanishad called Kenopanishad. This also is exactly the same message, which I'm trying to understand, which I'm trying to reconcile with my contrary inferences that I have drawn in my many years of living. I have observed, analyzed life. I've taken a lot of beatings from life, and I've arrived at certain conclusions. Suddenly, Upanishad comes and tells me, because I went seeking that, because there was always this element of doubt. I have got this all right, but I also have arguments against this inference. I will defend it tooth and nail if somebody else opposes what I say. But internally, I know that there is question. Therefore, I need to reconcile. And that's not an easy task. This knowledge that I have gained on my own is deeply entrenched. for me to uproot that and gather knowledge which is diametrically opposite will take a lot of commitment and Shraddha. Because I have this element of doubt that the way I have arrived at a certain conclusion, that I am limited, that I am mortal, leaves certain areas uncertain. I seek the correct answers. And Upanishad tells me everything is Brahman, and that Brahman is you. You're getting these inferences that you've drawn because you have mistaken yourself to be something other than Brahman. May I not give up this quest? I attend 2 classes because I'm curious to know where I made a mistake. I'm curious to know what the right answer is. But the whole thing flies above my head. Or I'm not able to find a reconciliation between what I think I know and what Upanishad tells me. It did not, after the first few classes, remove any logic by which I have arrived at this conclusion, or show up the logic that by which I have arrived at this conclusion. So I give up. I give up the idea of Brahman. Really, what we are doing is, I give up myself. That is not the giving up we are looking for. If Shastra is a pramana, is a means of knowledge, the giving up I have to do is to give up myself to the Shastra. Like any other pramana. For the pramana to tell me, to give me that knowledge, I don't need to use my will. Either to stop that knowledge or to exaggerate that knowledge. I don't need to use the will. It will happen. If it's a pramana, unless conditions are bad, meaning negative, that knowledge will take place. My favorite example for that is when you're going by train past UP, all the sugar belt, there's a whole stretch. Those of you who've taken the train will know. There's this horrible smell of molasses. I can't will myself not to smell that. Nor can I will myself, or do I need a will when I'm passing a place where the lovely flowers, fragrance is there? I must go and smell. It will happen automatically. That is the nature of a pramana. So the only giving up I have to do is submit myself to the pramana. Maham Brahma Nirakuryam. May I not reject Brahman for any reason. Because I don't understand, because it is so diametrically opposite to what I think I know, because somebody else distracts me. May I not reject Brahman. From Brahma-Upanishadam, from the Upanishad, everything is known. Known what? That everything is Brahman, without exception. And that Brahman is Atma, I. Before I understand this, may I not reject Brahman. But to be able to understand this, I also need the grace of Ishvara. Brahman in the form of Saguna Brahman, I need the help of. Saguna Brahman is Dvaitam. I and the all-knowing, all-powerful Ishvara. I need the grace of Ishvara. So that Brahman in the form of Saguna Brahman, may that Brahman not let go of my hand. Not only may I not give up Brahman, give up seeking Brahman, give up wanting to know Brahman for any reason whatsoever. May Brahman in the form of Saguna Brahman, in the form of Ishvara, not give up on me. May the grace of Ishvara be always with me. Ma Brahma nirakuryat. Not only the fact that I don't want to reject Brahman, may Brahman also not let go of me. The next two lines of the prayer re-emphasize this. Ma Brahma nirakuryat anirakaranamastu. May there be no rejection. Neither by me of Brahman or by Brahman of me. Person praying is still an ajnani. He or she is still looking at the I as the body-mind sense complex. Therefore, he prays and we pray. Anirakaranam me astu. Anirakaranam astu, anirakaranam me astu. Neither may I reject Ishvara, Brahman, nor may Brahman reject me. Give up on me, let go of me. And to do this, Upanishad also tells us that we have to have certain level of preparation. Dhikanitvam. All the guna that is required for my mind to be stable and peaceful and equanimous. May I have all those qualities. Shama, Dhamma, Ityadi. So that my prayer for gaining this knowledge with Ishvara's grace is fulfilled. Tadatmani nirate ya Upanishadsu dharmaha. What is given in the Upanishads, like all the qualities that is required for preparation. Mokṣatvam. a certain viveka, vairagya, and shamadamadi, etc. May I not be controlled by ragadvesha. All these qualities that are required as given in the Upanishad, the dharma here means qualities. May all those qualities be in me. It's not going to come automatically. I pray, I also work toward. I understand what I need and work toward gaining that strength. Physically gain the strength. All my senses gain the strength. My mind is strong enough to accept that there will be obstacles on the way. And I will go past them like the flowing Ganga. If it's a small obstacle, I go over them. If it's a large boulder, I go around them. I don't stop. I don't give up and go grazing elsewhere. I want these qualities because Shastra says, Upanishad says, you have to have these qualities in order to be able to understand what the teaching is. Therefore, may these qualities be there in me. All these qualities. Tad atmani, atmani here, in me, saptami. Tad atmani nirate ya upanishadsu dharmaha. Those dharmas given in the Upanishads as preparatory requirements, te mai santu. Let them be in me. Certainly let them be in me. Te mai santu again. May I work towards making sure that I get those qualities and not give up at any point of time. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May there be no obstacles on my way. Obstacles which are adhyatmika, which are related to me. I've already said several things in the prayer. Now, Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. I'm asking that the vignaha, which might come because of me as the individual, I've asked my angas to be strong. May not get disturbance coming from me, from my mind, from my body. Because Shanti is adhyatmika. Nor may they come from other sources, adhibhautika, other bhutas. May there not be people around me who tempt and distract me from this understanding. Just on the verge of attending classes, I'm crossing over from that state where I think I'm beginning to understand. A friend of mine says, listen, I've just won 2 tickets for India-South Africa match. All paid for, all travel paid for. Let's go. May I not be distracted or tempted. Adhibhautika. These are covered by Om Shanti Shanti. Nor may I get obstacles from sources on which I have no control. The first two, I have some control. Adi Daivika. Just as classes were going very well, there are floods. Everything gets distracted. Like happens in many places, including Chennai. Or Bombay sometimes. They become so heavy that there is no possibility of my continuing my quest, at least for the time being. And then when it stops for a while, to restart becomes even more of a problem. So neither by adhyatmika, not by adhyatmika, not by bhautika, nor by adidaivika obstacles may my this seeking be disturbed. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. With that prayer, we can move on to the actual Upanishad statements, the first mantra of the first chapter. We'll read it together. Keneshitam patati.
Sitam patati.
Keshitam manaha.
Reshitam manaha.
Kena prana pratamaha.
Kena prana pratamaha.
Praiti yuktaha.
Praitiyuktaha.
Keneshitam.
Keneshitam.
Vachamimam vadanti.
Vachamimam vadanti.
Chakshushrotram.
Chakshushrotram.
Kaudevo yunakti.
Kavudevo yunakti.
In all Upanishads, more or less, are dialogues between teacher and student. In some form, in fact, all teaching of this knowledge is typically a teacher-student dialogue. There are many implications of that. The implication that the learning comes with a traditional teaching, with a guru. And the questions usually you will find are not ordinary questions. That which transcends dharma, adharma, says Nachiketa. Teach me about that. Your dharma, Dharma Raja. In Chandogya Upanishad, Shvetaketu didn't ask the question, but his father realized and he asked him the question. Did you learn that knowing which you know everything? Look at the construct of the question itself. Similarly, we saw in the Mundaka Upanishad. The questions in the Upanishads are clearly by somebody who is already very knowledgeable, who is a jignasu, who really wants to know, who already knows a lot. One of the reasons Bhagavad Gita as a text for learning this knowledge is an excellent text to start with, is that the Shishya there, Arjuna, asks questions which are typically in our minds. After having heard some bit of the Upanishad, one of the most common questions that we have, Swami Ji, if I have to go after this knowledge, does that mean I have to give up all my responsibilities? Should I become a sannyasi? Very common question that comes to the mind. It looks like fantastic knowledge, but it's demanding too much of me. And it looks like a very big risk. If I go after all this and give up all the other things, what if I don't get? I will be ubhaya brashta. I will neither get this nor that. At least here, like many people, particularly youngsters, who have not yet got enough kicks from life, will say, but then I want to gain this. I want to gain money. I want to see the world. Interestingly, we did a quick study yesterday among young people, some 250 odd young people, 230 odd young people. And I was very pleasantly surprised. See that the question was, what do you want? Just that. Surprisingly, a very large number of them, it's the largest response in that survey, not even a survey, it's a mini, was peace. They want peace. It is a fantastic insight into the fact that while young people are chasing after all the things that after a few kicks from the life, one might understand that those are relatively less value, they're already thinking, what I want is peace. But there are more questions on that. But the fact that they are responding like that to me is a very positive sign. So that's the kind of question Arjuna asks. Because Arjuna was turning around the other way because his problem was different. His problem was, he knew I have to get Shreyas, mokṣa. And if Shreyas is knowledge, as Bhagavan told him, then why should I do anything? Why don't I go searching for that knowledge? Go find a guru, become a bhikshu. We have the same question, slightly different form. My God, do you mean that if I have to gain the knowledge, I have to become a bhikshu? I have to give up all those things which I have not yet tested. All look very good. A lot of money looks excellent to me. But when you come to Upanishads, the student is already a very advanced student. We will do Prashnopanishad one day. There are questions that they ask. Clearly indicate that they are not novices. They are people who have already thought a lot, learnt a lot. Like Narada, again in Chandogya Upanishad. Recognize that I've got so many things I know. All the colors, all kind of vidya. Why am I still subject to sorrow? Profound questions. And sometimes questions themselves look confusing. Forget about the answer. So here, the student is asking, Kena ishitam preshitam manaha patati. What a common knowledge we have is my mind, it just falls on something here and here and here. But it does by itself. But here is a student who has a question saying, is the fact that my mind lands on something driven by whom? By whose will? By whose ichcha? does my mind fall on its object? And notice that he is going to talk later about Chakshu, Sotram, etc. But starting with Mana. Commanded by whom? Guided by whom? In whose presence? Willed by whom? Does my mind fall on its object? We know that the mind falls on different objects and there seems to be no real connection. Mind is thinking of an object, switches to something else, switches to something else, switches to something else. Who guides that? Why should there be somebody to guide it? We all know the mind doesn't know. Can be an objection. What does that question mean? Why should there be somebody to guide the mind? Which one answer can be, if the mind were doing it on its own, falling on different objects, why would it ever fall on an object which is not nice to the mind? That is like saying, I like being unhappy and therefore I'm unhappy. The mind, the senses by themselves are insentient, jadavastu. That's other logic. They cannot fall on any one object or another object or move from one object to another object. The mind is flying to land on a particular object. It gets hijacked and gets to land somewhere else. Or it gets diverted, let's say by bad weather, and lands elsewhere. Patati. What happens? What or who guides this? Who wills the mind to land on a certain object? Mind is insentient. It doesn't have a will. Will automatically means sentience. Then what is that guides the mind, pushes the mind? The student asked this question in a very interesting way. Kena ishitam, by whose ichcha? He could have just asked that, Kena ishitam patati, manana. He introduces one more word, meaning the same thing. Prapurva ishitam, preshitam. Why two words? Look at it. If there was another subject which was willing the mind to land wherever, who wills that subject? And if you keep questioning, you get into infinite regression. That's not logical. By whose will does the mind fall on a particular object? It cannot have another subject which is willing this subject. And the subject which wills the I, which is an object, or the manas, which is an object. So this Preshitam, Nishitam usage, Shankaracharya says you have to understand it correctly by saying that there is a will behind this, a subject with a will. But there is, that will has to be such that it does not require another will, whose mere presence is enough to make the manas land wherever it is to land. By whose will does the manas land? By whose mere presence makes the manas land wherever. Like a magnet and iron filings, by its very presence, the magnet moves the iron filings. Fortunately, these examples are Laukik examples only. But we know that it's possible. By whose will, by whose presence does the mind land on a specific object? One can also interpret it like saying, as a general rule, by whose will does the mind operate? And whose presence make it operate and fall on a specific, land on a specific object? Kena ishitam manaha patati. It's a complete sentence. Kena preshitam manaha patati is also a complete sentence. But kena preshitam patati manaha, whose will and whose very mere presence drives the mind. Look at this question. We would not normally have looked at this in this way at all. Here's a student who is saying, we all accept, prasiddha, that the mind operates on its own. He's taking one step further and saying, by whose will, by whose guidance, by whose presence does the mind operate? The landing, a nice word, I like that. Swami G uses the word landing of the mind on specific objects. The will, when I say, even will can change. Will can be dropped. Will, I wish this to happen. I will this to happen. It can change. But there has to be something constant whose presence makes the will possible and the manas possible to land. Is there such a thing? And if there is, what or who is it? What form does it have? What is its nature? So his question is very clear. What is that atma, or whatever you want to call it at this stage, whose presence wills the mind to act the way it does? Not only the manas. It's not as if there is one manas and another manas, another will. He continues his questioning. Kena pranaha praiti yuktaha. How does the prana function? What makes the prana function? We know prana is the life-giving air. Also the life-sustaining air. All the physiological functions are included. What makes that function? What makes it function the way it functions? Directed by whom? We don't recognize that there is something happening till, for some reason, a couple of breaths don't come. Or till the digestion system stops operating as it should. It is there and somebody is directing them. All the functions. He uses one adjective here. Kena pranaha praiti yuktaha is prathama. Prathamaha. Among all these, prana is the prathama function. Why do you say that? Meaning important function. All other functions become unmanifest in deep sleep. All other functions. Eyes, ears, hands, legs, everything. Except prana. In deep sleep also, prana continues to operate so that one can get up the next morning and make a statement, I slept well. Be ready for further manifestation of karma phala. So prana is considered prathama. In fact, there is a story when all these senses decided we would find out who is the most important function. You close your eyes, everything will function. Close your ears, everything will function. But you can't close prana. So, kena prana, the same this thing. Says, is it the same atma or same whatever you want to call it, which makes prana also prana? Functional as a prana. All the physiological functions continue to work smoothly. Prana, all the pancha pranas, who guides them, who directs them? Prana is not for prana's sake, it's for the sake of somebody else. Same thing is true of all the other functions. Keneshitam vacham imam vadanti. This vacham, walk. By whose will does the walk happen? Words come. Whose presence is required for this to happen? You've covered manaha, which is behind all the senses. Prana is one set we've covered. Vak as a set of karmendriyas, How do karmendriyas function? What makes them function? Who guides them? Whose presence is required? One can extend this question and say either a separate person guiding the manaha, separate person guiding the prana, separate person guiding the vak, and separate person guiding the chakshushrotram. Or are they all the same? What a question. Question itself needs a lot of contemplation. For somebody to ask this question, you must already be an erudite person, learned person, perhaps a jignasu. We hope that all of us fall in the category, understand this question and further questions that come up later. And the answer that the teacher gives. The student is very clever, he's asking wonderful question. The teacher takes it one step forward. We will review this tomorrow. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Namaha Harihi Om.